I make that just after 9:30, so let's get started. And thank you everybody for joining us this morning. This is the final webinar in our series of 7, all about success and change in the landscape. And the previous webinars that we've had are all up on YouTube. And if you want to go and view them, then feel free to go up there. First of all, we have to issue our usual disclaimer, which is up there on the screen. I'm sure you can read that. We've read that out many times before. Just as a reminder about what we've done previously, the main one, which we think is the most important that we think you should be looking at, is a strategy and planning session. So if you're looking at a strategy, you need to be looking at where your business is now, where you think it should be in the next 5 years, and then you plan a route of how to get there. Whilst business is struggling at the moment, or whilst we are in the midst of a recession, there is so much uncertainty out there, you've got to have a plan. So we recommend that you have a plan. I know there's a couple of our contributors on our panel today who have gone through the session, and no doubt they'll be talking to you about that as well at some point. We also looked at cash management and why you've got to look after your cash. We looked at marketing strategy. We looked at gave you some killer ideas. Technology in your team. We heard from an IT consultant who explained how other businesses have been coping with the change in the business environment. And the last session was on value, how to add value to the service you operate and what price you should be charging. We even looked at pricing psychology. Today we've got an interactive session, and we're going to look at this as though, we're going to treat it as though it's a kind of a question time. But we have our contributors for today, who are Mr. Durgam Shamot from IMS Euro Limited, Mr. Darren McGuinness from Harts Stock & Co, and Mr. Tim McLeod from TMC Creative. Now, what I would like to do before we go any further is just ask each of our panelists just to say 60 seconds about who they are, what they do. So if I could start with you, Durgam, please.
Yes, it's again Durgam Shamot. I am the Managing Director at IMS Euro Limited. IMS Euro Limited is a non-pharmaceutical medical wholesaler with a product portfolio of approximately 7,000 lines. We are quite large on the veterinary front, and we're doing pretty well with the NHS. We managed to source a lot of PPE for them in the last 5-6 months, and it's been an absolutely wonderful journey for IMS. And that's me. Thank you.
Thank you. Darren.
Morning, everybody. Darren McGuinness. I own Harts Stock & Co solicitors. We have a high street practice in 3 locations, so mostly Failsworth and Stockport, and we provide the full range of services from making a will right the way through to dealing with probate on the personal side and all aspects of company law and commercial disputes on the commercial side.
Thank you, Darren. And Tim.
Hi, good morning, everybody. My name is Tim McLeod, and I'm the Managing Director of TMC Strategic Communications. And we focus on really creating effective and lasting engagement with businesses with the aim to drive business growth. We've got clients in the UK, Europe, and the US. We specialize primarily in brand reputation, marketing, and digital solutions.
Thank you, Tim. Okay, so the first question I want to put to the panel, and it's all about COVID, as you'd expect. What I'd like to do as well is, if any of the audience have got any questions that they want to ask, please feel free to unmute yourself, jump in with any comments, any questions you want to put to the panel, and we'll obviously try and answer them. If you don't feel you want to unmute yourself and talk, feel free to use the chat box, and you'll see the speech bubble in the top right hand corner of your screen. Just click on that and type in anything there you want, so we can come back to those questions. So the first question to Durgam, COVID, how has it affected your business? How have you tackled it? And have you taken up any of the government support that's been available?
Thank you, Stephen. Has it affected business? Yes, it has, in a massive way. Struggling with the staff, and COVID in itself is causing major problem within the premises. We work in very close proximity. But on the business front, absolutely on the contrary, COVID has been probably, I'm sorry to say this, one of the best things that's ever happened to IMS, because the company just did so well. I've been in this business 35 years, so my knowledge of the supply chain was of immense help. And if I may blow my own trumpet, at the start of COVID, we were the only company in the whole of the UK who managed to keep operating theatres functioning within the NHS for the first 2 months. As you all know, there was massive problems with surgical gowns, and we are the main supplier of surgical gowns to the NHS. So yes, working hours, staff issues, very much so. COVID has been quite a disaster for IMS, but on the business front, it's been absolutely fantastic.
Darren.
On a business perspective with COVID, it's reduced our income. It's initially created uncertainty in certain areas of the profession. So immediately at first lockdown, conveyancing was left hanging in the balance. Nobody knew what was going on until the Chancellor announced the conveyancing assistance that they were going to provide by way of the stamp duty that was put out there. There is still uncertainty in conveyancing because the knock-on effect of COVID has meant that more lenders are less reluctant to lend. So whilst we were seeing a nice spending spree at one point, now people are looking and seriously considering whether they can lend the money to the clients that want to move. It has led to more people wanting to move because more people have been locked in their premises thinking, oh my word, we've got no garden, we've got nowhere to entertain the children. You know, what are we going to do in such a small space? So lots of people are looking to move. It's just a question of whether they can get through that bottleneck that's been created. It's affected the staff. It's affected how the staff react because lots of people that have been kept on during the furlough period are absolutely shattered. So we've got an issue where we are trying to control and stop people from burning out by suggesting they take holidays. But that in itself is a loaded question. When the reply from many members of staff is, where can I go on holiday? The reply that we want to give them, which we can't give them, is, I'm not a travel agent, it's not my problem, but you need to take some time out of the business. The difficulty is that at the moment, what else can people do? So they are pushing themselves to a point where, as an employer, you've got to take a serious view as to how you can manage your staff in such a way that you get the best out of them without them blowing themselves apart. There are some areas that have been boosted by COVID without a shadow of a doubt. People are considering their mortality. People are considering their business structure. People are considering what to do, but it still comes back to, have they got the funds and the wherewithal to be in a position to make those transitions and to make things happen. So people are preparing wills, that's not a problem. People aren't able to move house so much. People want to restructure their business, and it's a question of where their priorities lie in order to get that working. We have taken some government support as a business. We furloughed some of our staff very early on, and that has been a great help to assist us in juggling the people in the business to make sure that they have had some time out. But again, another double-edged sword. You mentioned the furlough word, and it's worried. It's, oh my word, is this leading to redundancy? Is that where furlough really is? But from a business perspective, it was essential because the income was down. We had to make sure we could protect the business.
Can I just interrupt? Did you see a big spike as a result of the stamp duty holiday?
Not as big a spike as we thought. More people, the market was buoyant before COVID. The market was bouncing along, and it appeared to be that it would be returning back to normal when people thought we were coming out of it in June and that there would be no further issues and everything would be resolved. But of course, that didn't come to fruition. So the market is still there. It's the lenders now, and quite rightly, maybe controversially, but the lenders are worried about the financial capabilities of those borrowing. What they don't want is another round of repossessions like we had in the previous recession, where the lenders were not quite as savvy with their lending criteria as they are now.
Okay, Tim.
Yeah, I think that sort of, listening to those replies, you can pick some common threads through it, in the sense that I think there have been some significant winners and significant losers from COVID. The impact has been there for us all. I think certainly when you look at the human side, as for us as an organisation, with sort of a service-based offering, clearly the first things that happen to any business, when they're under uncertain times, is to cut marketing. And we saw that from a number of clients, which made us then reevaluate our current offer, and it made us look sort of, what are we doing? What are we providing for our clients? What do they want? And more importantly, what do they actually need at the time like this? So we've had to flex and really look at what solutions we can provide that will make a big impact. So that's the approach that we had with it. And what we've found is that clients are spending less in certain areas, but investing more in others. The virtual sort of events and congresses that we've helped our clients with, where traditionally we would have people on the ground. So our cost has actually dropped. So our costs out of the business has dropped quite significantly. And even though our turnover is down, our profit is actually up. And so it's quite an interesting sort of view when you look at the financial part to where we are at. The next part of what we are and where we are is the human part. I think that is really, it's impacted us, and there are people that have worked incredibly hard as they've worked through it. And then others that we notice that they're doing their job, but struggling a little bit to work under new circumstances where you work collectively within an office, in an environment, but then working at home and adjusting to that has been quite interesting. Sort of the leadership and the communication that's needed to do that has been quite significant.
Did you find there was any friction between staff? Because when people were coming back off furlough, especially we had a nice summer, people were getting paid 80% of their salary, were sitting on the backside during the summer, and other people were getting paid 100% of the salary and working like hell to cover everybody else's work, essentially. Was there any friction between staff? Did you come across any of that?
Yeah, I think certainly you can. We've managed our way through it. We very, very quickly made a decision earlier on. Where is the core team that needs to be in and working? And they actually form part of the senior management team. And so people would understand we had a fully operational business running all the way through. And what we did was then some of the staff were then furloughed. But we worked very, very closely to ensure that there wasn't a split. Because certainly, from the one-to-ones that I've had, you can feel that sort of helplessness and that insecurity that you get when you are on furlough, and then leading to those that are managing the workloads of those that are currently working through. So we've spent a significant amount of time ensuring that we have sessions together, whether they be the ones that I'm sure we've all had, from the coffee mornings to the Friday quizzes, but then the one-to-one sessions and then the team sessions that we've had. So we've had to consciously over-communicate and been very, very clear. Those that were on furlough, it was not their decision to be made. That was a leadership decision that was made. It was out of their hands, and it was done to secure the future of the business. And I made it very clear that the aim was to get everybody back from furlough by September. And we did that, we fulfilled that. And so I think because of that and the way we've communicated, there hasn't been them and us. And I think that is a very, very important, because we are all part of the same team. Everybody that's worked through this, I'm sure, would actually appreciate a couple of months off over the summer, which was quite glorious. So the beginning of this year was, if you remember way back when, the weather was absolutely gorgeous. So I'm sure those that worked through can actually appreciate a couple of months off. Those that were on furlough, I don't believe it was an easy task for them either. Okay. I think some of us are self-starters. I think some people that are on furlough really struggled with their time. As I say, they couldn't go on holiday. They were stuck in their homes, and that made it hard for them too. So I think we've got to look at everybody as an individual and understand how they feel, and where their place is in the business, because it's important that they mustn't feel that they are on a second tier just because they were on furlough.
Sure. We know we're doing lots of these calls now, these meetings, like we're doing this morning with video call. We use GoToMeeting, other people are using Zoom. There's a number of things out there. Durgam, do you see this as a way forward? Are you going to not spend so much time travelling to see people, or are you one of those people who wants to see people eye to eye rather than having a video?
Well, in the type of business we are in, it is really best to meet face to face. But I can't see any of this happening. We are doing little bits at the moment, so we are visiting a few clients. People are visiting us, but it's not easy. Will that change in the near future? I honestly doubt very much. I think people themselves are quite tentative about meetings, even if COVID is cleared and we have a vaccination. I still think people are a little bit wary in sitting in close proximity. So for the next 12 months, maybe 18 months, I really doubt much meetings will happen, and it will all be towards the new technology with Zoom and all the different technology out there. Yes, we don't prefer it. We don't like it. We like the personal touch with the clients. Again, we deal with a lot of nurses, a lot of surgeons, and you just can't read their body language while you are on Zoom. Well, if you are in a meeting with them, it just makes you relax a little bit more and choose your words before you say them, simply because you can read the person in front of you. Again, we have all our exhibitions are cancelled until probably towards the end of next year. All over the world, they've been stopped, and that's one other reason why people would be a little bit wary of going into large meetings where there are a number of people. But yes, we don't like it at all. It is easier.
I've seen a number of software packages now which are for events which are interactive and which you can put on virtually and have 100, 200 people on. Is that something you would be interested in if you were doing it? I mean, you can have it now where you just click into a supplier's booth and you can go in there and have a chat with them virtually. And then you can visit various people. You can see people on the stage and listen to their presentations. Yes. Do you see that as the way forward?
Yes, very, very much so. I think a lot of people now will be, firstly, people will be down in the size of their businesses. They'll probably move out of the city. People don't want to commute anymore. There is that tendency nowadays between the population that they don't want to mix much. Even a handshake is out of the question. And we are doing the virtual tours with a number of our suppliers as we speak. So we have 2 or 3 major exhibitions that were called off, and obviously it generates a lot of revenue for IMS. So we thought the best way forward is virtual. But the minute things are back to normality and people can mix in a normal way, we will definitely be at the start of that line.
Okay. Darren, how do you see it going from the office point of view and meetings and videos, calls and so
on? We've utilised more video conferencing during COVID. It does help. It does bridge a gap. But I don't think it'll replace the face-to-face meetings that people want to have. I think we're all sociable beings, and everybody wants to interact with other people, and not just on a video link. Sharing a video conversation with friends over a glass of wine is one thing, but meeting clients, dealing with body language, dealing with questions and answers that are spontaneous and are created by the response, not necessarily a verbal response from somebody, but a response that you get in a room where there's a bit of an atmosphere where people feel a little bit more under pressure. So I think the benefits for maintaining communication are there, but some of the other benefits that you get from a face-to-face contact are not there, and the signals aren't necessarily there for those of us that need to pick up on that sort of thing. It was interesting, we had a seminar with a judge in Manchester one of the senior judges in Manchester came on and said the courts will be using more and more of this technology, but not at the expense of dispensing justice in the right way. And I thought it was very, very clever of him. He's basically saying, where we've got people that are comfortable, barristers, solicitors on their own, without people representing themselves, then the court are happy to deal with it. And in fact, people have been quite efficient. But when you're dealing with the general public, the courts want them to be in, experience what's going on, understand what the court's decision-making process is. And we see that in the advice we give. People need to understand it. And at the end of a video screen, you can nod, you can smile, but not necessarily have the bravery to say, I really don't understand what you just said. Please clarify it. It becomes a bit more difficult to read. So benefits are, you don't have to travel. I know companies that were up and down to London on several occasions each month. They've not travelled. They've saved themselves a fortune, but they've still had their meetings. But I think from a high street practice where you've got locals who do just pop in, do want to put stuff through your letterbox, do want to hand it to somebody and say, these are my deeds, these are my documents, we're always going to need to have a way of speaking to people face to face.
Okay. We have a question from our audience, basically saying it would be interesting to hear how the panel have managed their staff working from home and also how they've communicated with staff that are on furlough. Tim, how have you done that? Have you had staff working from home?
Yeah, absolutely. We're all working from home. In fact, I'm the only person in the office today. With lockdown again, we've shut down the office. We have one person that will come in just to check everything is okay. Certainly improved the security around the premises, because I think that's also a responsibility. With regards to the team working from home, we had very much a team-based environment where we would all collaborate with regards to job flow and job process, where we were in idea creation. So we had an old-fashioned big white wall that was painted sort of magic paint on the wall, so we could all draw on the wall, and we had our system on that wall where we moved jobs through. We scheduled jobs, and we put it down physically by mark onto the wall. Within a week, we'd moved from there into Slack and into Trello, and our entire system is online now. So at that point, everybody can work at home. We supplied everybody from chairs to desks to the computers, monitors, and made sure that they could be working fully functionally from home. Because certainly within the first week when we did a trial run, we noticed some wobbly laptops and realized a few people had laptops on their knees, and thought that that's not going to be best practice going forward. So we moved to a digital setup very, very quickly. We tested it. We had a week's worth of tests before the first lockdown came in, which was great. Everybody felt very comfortable. But the next phase of that from working was then the over communication that happened initially, and then that's calmed down. And I made it my task to actually make sure I spoke to every member of staff at least once a week. And so I actually have a catch-up conversation, not just with work, but also with how they were doing. I think that was really important. It was certainly very time-consuming and very costly emotionally, because you've got to connect with somebody. You can't just ask a series of questions. You've actually got to listen. And I think that made a big difference to how we were and how we've operated as a business. I said my responsibilities for the team, their responsibilities for the work. And by doing that, we've actually sort of worked our way through. And people now are quite comfortable working from home. I think they prefer to be in the office. We look forward to getting back together, because the laugh and the fun and the energy that you get when you were working together as a team is the bit I think we all miss at the minute. And you can do some of that virtually, but we're looking forward to getting back. But we are have the ability to continue working, and certainly well into next year by doing what we're doing at the minute.
Okay. And Durgam, how have you managed to look after your staff working from home? Have you had many working from home?
Well, yes, I have quite a few working from home. With the first wave of COVID, we had to send a lot more than we did this time. Now, I am lucky that I have an absolutely wonderful team at IMS. I do trust them fully. And again, we have a system within the company on a 50-inch flat screen where it monitors each member of the staff, especially in the marketing and in the customer service department, where it will tell us how many outbound calls, how many inbound calls, how many orders they processed that day, yes, how many customers they spoke to. And I just explained to all the staff that I am happy for them to work from home and I'm going to work with them on trust. But any moment in a particular day I call and they don't answer that phone, then I have a little bit of a problem. If I call and I hear cars in the background, we have a problem. Yeah, or a dog barking outside on the street, then I have a problem. So I was a little bit strict with the rules by saying, if I phone one day and you are not available, but you're supposed to be working from home, you will be disciplined as if you didn't turn up to work. Now, luckily enough, I've not had any issues whatsoever. We are quite busy, so they don't have time to slack. We have 7, 8 members of the customer service, and they are always extremely busy processing orders. So working from home has been fine. It's more of a personal thing for me, really. I don't like to come into the office, and instead of having 30, 40 people in the office, I am down to 10 and 15 people. The business just doesn't feel right for me. And I can't wait for them to come back into the office. We have to work shifts. So 1 week on, 1 week off. Some of the staff will come in 1 week. Others will work from home. Yes, we have any advantage of furlough, any government schemes. I think it would have been very, very unfair since the company is doing very well and we are very busy. And again, I am lucky to have these members of staff that I can trust. And again, we are watching them on the screen. So well, yes,
I know that you know, we at Harts we've rotated staff around. We have a rota for people when people are in the office and when they're not in the office, and that seems to have worked quite well. We also have our Cheadle office where we've now staffed that up with 2 people as well, so they're working from there. And I think everybody gets involved. We also put on a Friday morning a mindfulness session where we have a guest mindfulness coach who for half an hour sets you up for the weekend nicely with some calming thoughts and meditations and some ideas and so on. And it seems to go down very well with a number of staff, and everybody can join in with that. It's only for half an hour, so it does work quite well. I know in the past we've been looking at how to eat food to playing with Play-Doh, so it's all works quite well. Let's move on to another topic, recession. I know it's a bit negative. Technically, we're not in recession because we've just had a 15% bounce back, according to Rishi. But everyone believes that we're still in a recession. How are you looking to beat the recession? How do you see the market going? And how quickly do you envisage that we'll come back to pre-COVID levels? Tim?
Well, I think we've always operated in a sector that has to be market relevant. So rather than offering a single product or a single service, what we're looking at is how to make organizations communicate more effectively. And that continually changes and evolves. And so with regard to recession, you know, we started TMC sort of back in 2006 at the height of a recession. So, you know, anybody that's crazy enough to do that sort of, I'm hoping that we have the resilience to actually push our way through any recession that we might be facing. But fundamentally for us is whether there be a recession or not, people still have to communicate. What we're looking at is how can they effectively communicate. So rather than sitting on what we are currently doing today, we are constantly looking at what should we be doing tomorrow? What do our clients need and primarily want? For example, we shifted from producing an overnight newspaper at some of the European congresses, or the largest oncology and cardiology societies. We produced an overnight newspaper reporting on the day's activity. That had to switch to a digital version, and of which we're doing. We're now working with them to say how can we enhance that and enhance the engagement of the digital version of the newspaper, but then looking at how we can get people to engage and feel like they are in a unique environment rather than just sort of downloading information. So when it comes to recession, I think it's an approach, it's a mindset of the organization.
Yeah.
And we have to flex, all of us have to flex, look at the market, look at what's going on with regards to what do our clients need, most of all, what do our clients want, and then at that point, look at ways to fulfill that. So I'd rather take a proactive approach rather than sit and think a recession is coming, how do we batten down the hatches? Let's ride it rather than sort of get swamped through it.
I agree. Do you have any views on when we might come out of it all and things get back to normal? Are we looking at this time next year, 3 years' time?
Yes, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, Tim. Sorry, I shouldn't have said anything. Sorry. You carry on.
That's not a problem. I don't think I'm qualified in order to sort of predict the future. I can look at certainly the way behavioral patterns and the way organizations tend to react and respond through the experience that we have. And I think we mentioned before that there is a split. There are those that are sort of hesitant to come back forward, those that will be at the front of the queue, I think to use a word from earlier, with regards to wanting to re-engage with human-to-human based experiences, which are far more fulfilling. So I think that there will be a little bit of hesitance with regards to fear, with regards to we've been told to behave in a particular way. Most of the community has conformed to those behaviors in order to restrict COVID. And I think that will affect how businesses can bounce back.
Okay.
But fundamentally, businesses have to move forward. And I think that is where the conflict lies with regards to business owners needing to drive them forward for the security of their own staff as well as the business. Whereas some team members will feel a little bit fearful of the fact that as soon as you start making more contact, will I become poorly? And so I think that there is a psychological bounce that will really sort of retard the ability for businesses to respond effectively quickly.
Okay, Darren?
I think the concern in when you utter the word recession, generally speaking, on a high street practice, if you've got a multidisciplinary practice like we have, then there's an argument to suggest that we may be recession proof because we become the need of the clients in various times. So there will be more debt recovery, there will be more repossessions, and these are the gloomy parts of the word recession, because there will also be new businesses that will flourish and grow out of the situation that COVID has created. People are pivoting, people are making decisions about the future of their business and restructuring, and that again is another area where legal services can assist, because that's where we can help with that restructure, make sure they've got the building blocks in place, make sure they've thought it through, and make sure that we're in a position to assist with that growth, as well as assisting those that will need to take money back from errant tenants, will need to take money back from people that haven't managed to maintain their debts. As far as other areas of work, we are, generally people suggest solicitors are, thrive on other people's misery, so we should be welcoming this time. But there will be a spike in matrimonial work, without a shadow of a doubt. There will be that, and that's not just in the family situation, but businesses will go through those disruptions. Businesses will break up, and they will be reformed in different ways. So it's making sure that we can still be around to service those areas and make sure that we can assist. That means that we have to do more marketing. We have to be out there explaining to people how we can help, not just be the harbinger of doom and say this is how we can help you avoid paying back this money or avoid doing certain things. It's about how you can grow and how you can flourish in this present situation. So it's keeping an eye on your cash flow. It's making sure that when you do market, you market into the right areas, and making sure that your offering is a positive one, because people don't want to listen to doom and gloom. It's an inevitability, but it's not necessarily something that you have to resign yourself to. And I think Durham, we were chatting yesterday, said, keep your chin up. And I think that's an important message for everybody in businesses. There are support mechanisms out there. When you say, how long is this going to last? The lending from the bank suggests to me that if we've got 5 years to repay this, plus a year of interest free, then the banks are suggesting that businesses will take between 3 and 5 years to trade their way through what's going on or what's predicted to go on. Hopefully businesses will plan to get out of any additional borrowing they've got into within the next 3 to 4 years, so they're ahead of the game. But I think that's where I would have my balance. There will be some businesses that grow rapidly, but if you've got a constant steadiness and you're still here in 4 years as a business, then you've done extremely well with regards to everything that's gone on.
Durgam, how do you see it?
Well, again, you know what, Stephen, people's misfortunes are always IMS's fortunes. You remember in 2005, 2006, I set up in IMS, and I think 2008 to 2009, we had a massive spike. We had a massive recession. And to be honest, look, a recession, in my opinion, it is about having no money. So therefore, every business has to adapt themselves to deal with their clients based on having little money. With IMS here, we are diversifying. We're going international. We're looking at our supply chain. We're looking at where we can reduce cost or the cost of goods in particular. And if I may say this, I think the bottom line becomes irrelevant during the recession. The most important thing during the recession is to keep head above water. If you're making money and you're successful, fantastic. But if you are not, the focus should be shifted. I might be wrong, but that is the way I do things within IMS. I shift the focus from the bottom line to the survival of the business. Because if I can get my business surviving for the next 2 or 3 years during the recession, then when times are good, I will be very strong. Where if my aim is only bottom line and I'm chasing that profit year in, year out, month in, month out, I will have a major problem, because you will not be generating the same level of profit as you did before the recession. So it's just a matter for the businesses to adapt themselves to a recession. I think recession will be here for many, many years to come, for a simple reason that is compounded with COVID. By the time we come out of COVID and people go back to their normal life, you're talking at least another 12 months, and then the recession will hit. And the recession is coming for sure, because it's a worldwide problem, not just one country. Europe gonna have a recession, the States, Asia. Businesses have to look at it in the sense, let's adapt the business to this recession. Customers don't have as much money, they have little money, but they still need my services, they still need IMS. How can I help them to come back to me and buy these little bits and pieces? Yes, they might not spend £1,000 a month. They might be wanting to spend £400 or £500. So we looked at our supply chain. Can we save on the cost of goods coming in? Can I save 10, 20%? And I will pass that on to the customer as a savings. And thereby the customer really not losing much, will still spend their money with me. But if my focus is going to be mainly on how much profit the company is going to make at the end of the year during a recession, then I think I will be creating a problem for myself, for IMS, until I get out of that recession and we get out of COVID. So the focus should be on the customer, and the focus should be not on the bottom line, that is for sure. We did it twice in the past, and it has been very, very successful. In fact, I said to them, I don't want to know about bottom lines. I want just IMS to survive during the recession. And if I break even at the end of the year, I am very, very happy with that. Because if you survive during a recession, you'll be extremely strong when we are out of it.
To be able to survive it, presumably you need a plan. And I know that you've had a session with us regarding strategy and whether to have a strategy session or not. And what would your views on that, to be able to plan your way over the next few years?
Well, look, you've been asking me to do, as you know, IMS is a very, very fast growing company, and you've been asking me for a while. You kept saying to me, look, Dergam, this is no longer a little tiger that you feed a couple of chickens. This is growing into a dinosaur. And sooner or later, you are not going to be able to deal with it. And I totally doubted you, Stephen, and I'm very honest. You've, for the last 2 or 3 years, asking me, we need a plan, 3-year plan, we need a 5-year plan. And then a few weeks ago, or a couple of months ago, I felt that I am out of control. And myself and my two sons are here as well, they work with me. We just can't cope with the amount of work. We cannot cope with the size of IMS. So I spoke to you and I said, let's do strategy planning. Is the first time I ever did something like this. And to be fair, it's been one of the best eye-openers for me as a businessman. To look at the business in a different way. I didn't even know what the business is worth. I didn't even know what we were doing. And it was such a great insight when I did it with Stephen 2 or 3 weeks ago, that it gave me a focus. And it proved to me, in a way, you always have a doubt in the back of your head, you've got a good business, it's a successful business, and that doubt never goes away. Until I met with Stephen 2 weeks ago, we did the strategy planning, and I thought, my God, I am somewhere where I never thought I will be, in a much better place than I thought we are. And it gave us a focus to achieve our goals. How are we going to achieve them? We are in the process of installing a new technology, new warehousing facilities. An FD is being interviewed next year. All these we didn't have. I have always been very much hands-on. So you see me today dressed like this, you come tomorrow, I'm on my knees in the warehouse, and I've got nearly 80-odd staff. And that is wrong to do, because my focus is on organizing the company and not necessarily generating money for the company. After we did the strategy planning with Stephen, I could see there is a lot of benefit to do something like this for the next 5 years. It gives you a focus. You can achieve your goals in a more defined way. And it has been the best thing I've ever done, to be honest. I will be talking to you about it because certain areas are not setting in very well with me. So
okay. No, that's fine. Tim, have you got a plan to get you through the next 5 years?
Absolutely, and luckily we actually produced a document that was actually entitled 2020. Now that clearly just needs to be sort of put on the bonfire. And I think with regard to creating strategies, it is fundamentally set upon what is the vision and the purpose of the organisation. And so we had started a number of years ago with regards to sort of how are we going to mature the business to that next level. And I think when something that stress tests an organisation such as COVID has done for many of us, I think what it does, it presents opportunities, and it allows you to look forward and look at the people within the organization and start to say, where is that management, where is that next level that will actually help drive the business forward? Because I think as business owners, we've all got to look way beyond ourselves. Yes, we got it going. It was our vision. It was our drive and determination to see it to where it is, but that isn't a strategy that will potentially work going forward. So at that point, if the business is needing and looking for some longevity with regard to it, a strategy does need to be put in place, because fundamentally you need to be able to communicate your vision and that mission way beyond into your management team, but also into the wider team. So it is important to have that strategy. Without it, you are just surviving day to day. And I think the strategy gives you, at times of difficulty, that determination to say, we're on a mission. We are forging our journey. Now, strategically, you might change. You might have several different options and routes within it. So it's not laying down a path that you will, doggedly determined, sort of walk through, regardless of what happens. It should be able to flex and adapt to what happens with it within the market. And with that, it is fundamentally a way to communicate to your team so that actually you are working together to achieve the objectives. And I think that there's going to be some great comments with regard to looking beyond the bottom line, looking to get through this. Whether we are in good times or whether we're in a recession, I think that they are all labels that are placed upon a market that does, go up and it goes down. If you are selling PPE in a time of COVID, you're in a great place, but that also brings headaches. So I think within all of this, there is difficulties of running our business. If we can communicate effectively with our teams and our staff, communicate effectively with our clients, then at that point, we can then find our way through. And I think that is where that heart of that strategy really needs to be. It is a communication plan to effectively find a way forward.
Darren?
I think the situation that my company found itself in at the start of the year was that we realised before COVID hit that we needed to make some changes to the structure of the business. What COVID actually did was accelerate those changes, create a situation where we felt we had to make the changes quickly, which was a bit like pulling a plaster off. The slower you do it, the more painful it is. The faster you do it, and the more decisive you are, the less painful it becomes, because you've got through the pain barrier quite quickly, and you know that there's a reason behind why you're doing it. It's not a case of causing problems for problem's sake. It's a case of making sure that you are whipping the business into shape to make it able to survive. So initially, we had a session with yourselves at Harts to look at cash flow. We came up with various different options on how to manage our cash flow and to examine our cash flow from a different perspective, because we regularly review our profit and loss account, we regularly review our balance sheet, we regularly review our cash in, cash out. But do we understand it? I think the answer was not as well as we thought we did. And to look at it properly, forensically with others that know how to interpret the numbers and put it into English for us, made us a lot more savvy about what we needed to do, which led to a plan, which then creates a situation where we can then measure whether we are achieving what we want to achieve. And even if we're not getting to the line that we need to, we know we're heading in the right direction, rather than things just relying upon natural events to assist. So a large bill being paid, a case settling, matters that change the way in which the income for the business is created. So it's about driving what we can drive. It's about measuring what we need to measure to be able to judge our success, and then putting that into different forms of plans. So the cash flow plan that became a business plan, that we did a business strategy session with yourselves, and we have a marketing plan that is evolving, but needs to be kicked a little bit harder as we go along. But we're measuring these things, and in a way, it's quite cathartic, ticking off a box that says we've done that, we aim to do that, we've achieved that, or we've done that, we aim to do that, we didn't quite get there, but this is the reason why, or we changed our mind, we didn't want to do that because we considered X, Y, and Z, and we've altered the path. And it's not as you said, Tim, it's not a dogged, determined, we will stay on this path come hell or high water. It's a case of things have changed, we need to adapt, and the quicker we adapt, the less painful things become. So all of these things have helped us this year, and hopefully will keep us in good stead going forwards, because again, we've got something to refer back to say, why is it we're doing this? I can't quite remember, because everything's going a bit wobbly at the moment, and I need to know, I need some grounding, and that's where you go to. You go back to your plan, you go back to what you've got written down, and you remember why you put it there in the first place. So I think that's been a real help for me, and certainly for everybody that helps me run Harts Accountants & Co, because without that, we could be going round in circles.
Thank you very much indeed. Would you believe we've actually overrun already. We've been going for 50 minutes already. We didn't cover half as much as we wanted to, but maybe there's time for another session. I would like to immensely thank Dergham Shamot, Darren McGuinness and Tim McLeod for joining us this morning to discuss COVID, recession and planning and so on. It's been, I think, very useful to hear their insights into what's been going on. This session has been recorded and will appear on our YouTube channel later on today. If you want to go to Harts Limited, with limited spelt in full, and search for that, you'll be able to see it there. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel as well, because then you'll be notified of all new webinars, videos and so on, which get posted up on there. Just to let you know that we have our next webinar is not until the 1st of December, and it's going to be on Brexit and what you need to do for your business and yourself. And also then following on that, on the 8th of December, we're going to be having a look at business valuations, and Chris Bentley and myself will be dealing with both of those webinars. It just remains for me to say thank you very much indeed to everyone for joining us today. And if you've got any questions or you'd like to speak to any of us regarding a business plan or get further information on how the other businesses have managed during this difficult period, please feel free to drop me a line. That's sfleischer@harts-ltd.com, and I'll be happy to help. Thank you very much again for today, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the next webinar. Goodbye.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye-bye, everyone. Thank you.